Senator Fitzpatrick.
Chair, and thank you, Ronan and Dulta, for attending our committee today and helping us to complete the pre-ledge scrutiny here. Can I just ask you, Ronan, please, in Twitter, I appreciate your user numbers are less than Facebook's in Ireland, but and my understanding is it's less than 1 million, and I understand that Twitter has over recent times taken more direct action to remove bots and trolls. And but can you just is it possible for you to tell us how many accounts you're removing a month in Ireland?
The short answer there is that I wouldn't have that figure for Ireland specifically. I
Globally?
can tell you that. Oh, sorry. Did you want Dulta to come in there?
Just globally, if you don't have an Irish number, a global number would be fine.
Yeah, so we have the Twitter Transparency Centre. If you go to transparency.twitter.com on about a 6-monthly basis, every 6 months or so, we update transparency.twitter.com with the latest figures around our enforcement. And that would include all violations of Twitter rules. So, and it's broken down by rules. So if, for example, if you're talking about platform manipulation and spam, which would be, coordinated inauthentic activity, bots, if you will, those kind of figures could be found there, depending on the nature of the report, every 6 months. I can say that now this figure isn't up to date, but around 18 months ago, 24 months ago, just as an example, we were challenging around 8 to 10 million accounts globally per week. And challenging means that something about the sign-up process with particular accounts was setting off flags. I mentioned earlier that we're leveraging machine learning to be better at detecting behavior-based signals. And so machine learning flags were tripped and an account would be challenged. And that is based on the suspicion that it is an inauthentic account, a spammy account that is likely, therefore, to engage in inauthentic behavior on the platform, perhaps in coordination with other accounts, perhaps as part of a network. And if the challenge is not met by an account, if they don't prove that it is being operated by a real individual and that person has not had accounts suspended previously, then that account will be automatically suspended. So there was a significant volume of this globally around 24 months ago. And this is probably a significant volume still on a weekly basis, but it is not as high as it was. And that, I would suggest, is evidence of, I think, our enhanced capacity to deploy those machine learning techniques to address this sort of behavior.
In terms of Facebook's positioning on the political advertising, is it correct, and I've heard you give different answers, or it's not that you're giving different answers, it's that I've heard the responses vary a little in terms of the way the question was asked. But just on a simple question, does Facebook fact-check political ads?
No, so we've taken the position that we don't fact-check political speech, whether it's in organic content or in political ads, okay. Because we believe that it's right that it should be seen, and it's right that it should be scrutinised more so than it already is by placing it into the ads library. But it's important to make a distinction that doesn't mean that anything can be said by a politician in a political ad. So, for example, hate speech isn't allowed. If there's suppression of voters or election turnout or that type of behaviour, that's not allowed. So there's a whole range of content that isn't allowed. But as a general point, we don't fact check. Okay. We don't send to our the network of fact checking organisations that I spoke about earlier. So we don't send political speech to those organisations.
And I'm familiar with your community guidelines, but can I just ask you then, so when you don't fact check, that means that you don't check whether the ad is true or not?
So we believe that we shouldn't be the ones who are deciding what is true or not, and that's why we work with the network of third-party fact checkers, and they are the ones for non-political speech who decide, for example, whether content in relation to COVID.
Can I just ask you, Roland, can I just ask you then, who are these third parties that have more authority than Facebook to determine whether something is true or not?
So they're members of the international network of fact checkers in Ireland. The partner we work with is the journal.ie.
So the journal.ie does the fact checking for Facebook on all Irish ads, all political Irish ads?
No, so on political speech?
On political, I'm specifically questioning just the veracity of political advertisements on Facebook in Ireland.
Yeah, and what we don't, in the traditional approach for organic content that is, you know, concerning whether it's true or not, is that it's sent to a third-party fact checker. We don't do that for political speech in ads or in organic content, so it isn't fact-checked, and so it is allowed in the political speech, but there are barriers that are set down in the community standards by what is and what isn't allowable.
Why isn't truth a corporate value for Facebook?
We don't believe it should be for companies such as ours to make the decision of where the line of truth is. And in political debate and discourse, there can be sort of naturally different perspectives on certain things. But like I think we are committed to external oversight, to ensuring that our standards and our policies are exactly where they need to be. And that's, for example, why the External Oversight Board was established to oversee the decisions, be the final arbiter of decisions we're making in relation to content. And they're going into a number of other recommendations in areas which we're engaging with them on. But it comes down to that question of who should be the arbiter of what the truth is when it comes to political speech.
Thank you.
Thanks.